I need you to come and teach your word by yourself, by yourself. Oh, 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 by yourself. I need you to come and teach your word by yourself, by yourself. I need you to come and teach your word by yourself, by yourself. Need you to come and teach your word by yourself, by yourself. I need you to come and teach your word by yourself, by yourself. I need you to come and teach your word by yourself, by yourself. A lot of heresy, falsehood everywhere. The world doesn't know who to listen to. Lies flying everywhere. Oh, Father, come and teach your word. Come and teach it by yourself, by yourself. Yourself, yourself, yourself. I need you, Lord. I need you, Lord. I need you, Lord. Come and teach your word. Come and teach your word by yourself. Teach your word. Come teach your word. I'm here with a report that says how Prophet TB Joshua got the mantle of babalola. The world is still wondering how a prophet got the mantle of an apostle. This is a great mystery, a very profound one. And I'm here to paraphrase and enlighten you on how he got the mantle by the help of the Holy Spirit. Listen to me, child of God. Faithfulness is the key to openness. I repeat again. Faithfulness is the key to openness. God will open a new door for you, a strange door for you, a supernatural door for you when you are faithful. God will open you up to a realm you've never seen when you are faithful. When you are faithful with the vocation God gave to you, He gives you a bigger vocation. The Bible said that a certain master was about to journey, and he called his steward, his servants, and gave them talents and asked them to trade with it. One buried his, and when the master came back, he took it from the man who buried his own and what gave it to the man who was faithful. What was given to him was not what was initially given to him. Another thing entirely was given to him because it was buried. When a man of God dies and he takes his mantle up to God and that man of God is buried, it's just like the mantle is buried also. Because no one is using it again. It's no longer active. It's no longer doing the job it ought to be doing. So what does God do? He excavates and dig out the buried mantle and give it to a man who is faithful. The Bible said that Elisha died and he was buried, and the mantle was still speaking on the ground. A dead man was dropped on his grave, and the dead man resurrected as soon as the bone of Elisha had contact with his body. No man was faithful. That is why the mantle remained in the grave, because Gehazi, who ought to have taken the mantle, failed, and other men were not still reliable. So the mantle is permitted to remain in the grave for a very long time when no faithful person is available. But as soon as God finds a faithful man, the mantle that was buried will be excavated and be given to a man who is faithful. The Lord took me in the spirit, and I saw the grave of Apostle Ayo Joseph Babalola, and I saw the man, Prophet TB Joshua, in another grave beside that very grave where Apostle Ayo Joseph Babalola was buried. In the spirit realm, I'm not talking about the physical grave, because sometimes you bury men of God in the physical grave, but in the realm of the spirit, they are in another grave that God has prepared for them. There is a spiritual sepulchre where they are buried. One time Moses was struck to death by God, and the Bible said God buried him in the valley. No man could discover or trace where he was buried. When Elijah was taken up, the sons of the prophet came to Elisha. When they discovered that the spirit of Elijah has rested upon Elisha, they said, let's go in search of his body. And he told them they should not go. And they went about searching him around the mountain and the valley. They could not find him. So that kind of soul was not buried in the valley or in the mountain. So the Lord did his burial in his own way. And the Bible said the chariot of fire came and took him. That was his burial. That was his obituary. And God told me one time that the ministry of Elijah started with fire and ended with fire. So there are spiritual graves where men of God are buried that you cannot know until God take you there. So there, he was in his grave beside that of Babalola, and the young prophet which I have been talking about, I saw him in another grave beside Prophet TB Joshua. Prophet TB Joshua was in the middle. It was 3 graves, and I saw the mantle taken from Ayo Babalola, given to Prophet TB Joshua, and from Prophet TB Joshua, it was given to this young man. And I saw this young man resurrecting from the grave. And the mantle became so tall, so long in his hand. Why? Because Babalola has first used it, and Prophet TB Joshua has used it also. So it started duplicating. So it became times 3 in the hand of this young man. And I heard a voice telling me that from history of the Bible, that it has never been so, that the mantle of Moses was given to Joshua and it ended with Joshua. It stopped there. The mantle of Elijah was given to Elisha and it stopped there. And by revelation, the mantle of Stephen was given to Apostle Paul, though it was not stated like that in the Bible, but that was what happened. Paul had his own mantle, and that of Stephen was added. It became 2. And Paul operated the spirit of Elijah and Moses, but the world did not know this. It's a great mystery. Now, when the mantle of Stephen was given to Paul, it stopped there. And God said in history, it has never been so, that this man received the mantle that was duplicated into 2 in the hands of other men of God, and in his hand it became 3. This has never happened. Why? Because of the work he's coming to do. Because the work that many generals could not do, this one man of God is assigned to do it. So God needed to give him an unusual grace. In advancement, in continuity on how Prophet TB Joshua got the mantle of Babalola. I was in the church and I began to inquire from the Lord. I said, you said that Prophet TB Joshua's mantle was the one that Babalola used. How did he get it? I began to ask. How come he never gave it to him? And the Lord compelled Prophet TB Joshua to answer me in one of the encounter. He said that the man of God did not give the mantle directly to him, that he took it up to God and God gave it to him. Why? I tell you this by revelation, his faithfulness, his fidelity, his loyalty to God's instruction. God saw his heart. And that is why he never gave the mantle directly to any man. That is why he never called a man out while he was on earth and gave the mantle direct. This is a strange message to the synagogue, a very profound message that they must cogitate why he never called any man out and handed over to that man directly. It was after his death they started getting series of revelation, who is to take over, who is not to take over. So that must tell you that there is something behind him not giving the mantle out and officially announcing to the world, to the church, that this man is to take over me. Because he knew that God has chosen a man to substitute him, and this man is not from synagogue. So that is why he held his peace. Now I began to ask, since you got the mantle from God directly, and because of the same method by which you got the mantle, you didn't give it to anyone, so you brought it back to God, so that God will give it to the man that seemeth right to him. I was not asking the Lord now this time around, not Prophet T.B. Joshua. I was asking, I said, Lord, how come a prophet received the mantle of an apostle? What is the possibility? How did a prophet receive the mantle of an apostle? And God began to lecture me. His heart. His heart. The kind of heart you have determines what you receive, child of God. Do you know that Moses never fasted before he received the power in his rod that he used to smite Egypt? Egypt was mighty, turned upside down. The waters was turned to blood. He rained snails, fire, hailstone, brimstone in Egypt. He commanded frogs from the waters. Lies. I mean, Egypt was turned upside down. Egypt was bamboozled. Egypt was bombarded beyond recognition. Moses never fasted. As a matter of fact, he was leading his father's in-law ship, Jethro, when the Lord appeared in form of burning bush. And he began to journey close to the fire, and the voice said, "Pull thy sandals, for the place where thou standest is an holy ground." That was where he had the encounter. No fasting. Why? His heart. The only time he fasted was when he went to receive the tablets. At that time, Egypt has been smiting. God has demonstrated all his sign in Egypt already. What is my point, child of God? Moses received such grace without fasting and prayer. The price he paid was the price of the heart. It is good and it is needful for a believer to carry a perfect mind. And when God wanted to reckon, when he wanted to testify to Aaron, Miriam, he told them, if there is a prophet among you, I will speak to them through dreams, through vision. But to Moses will I speak to mouth, not with a dark speech, because he's the meekest man in the earth. The heart, a dispirited man, a heart that doesn't have acrimony, bitterness or wickedness, a heart that is not proud, a heart that doesn't yearn for mammon, for the things of this world. When the apostolic mantle was fulfilled and it was taken up to God, and God sought for a man to give the mantle, what he saw was men who were after mammon, men who were after material things, men who were out for financial things, men who were out for prosperity. And the mantle of babalola was not for this kind of luxurious lifestyle. It was a serious mantle for a serious man, a man who mourns like Jeremiah, not a man who comes to brag and boast. So they were not faithful. So God kept the mantle and gave it to a man whose heart is opened to do a perfect work. That is why the apostolic mantle migrated from the apostolic office to the prophetic. And when I heard this, I was flustered. I was bemused. I began to wonder. And the Spirit helped me to understand. In the book of Amos, one time, Amaziah the priest began to confront Amos. He said, "Flee from Bethel and go to Judah, for Bethel is the king's court." He said, "Go to Judah and prophesy and eat bread there." He was against the prophecy of Amos. And Amos told him, I was never a prophet. Neither did I come from the lineage of a prophet. I was a gatherer of sycamore fruit, a headman. But as I followed the flocks and I was faithful, the Lord called me into the prophetic. So he was not a prophet, but he received the mantle of a prophet because of his fidelity, his faithfulness. This is the secret. This is the power behind TB Joshua attaining and obtaining the mantle of Babalola. Because faithful men were missing in the earth. They all followed the byway and the broad way. And when the Lord looked and discovered that this man that is faithful is too gentle, and because of that, the mantle of a radical apostle could not exercise, could not demonstrate the way it ought to be demonstrated, he made a decision not to choose a gentleman again, but a man who is fair and ruddy, a man who will possess body characteristics of TB Joshua in the aspect of faithfulness, meekness, love, generosity, altruism, forgiveness, and also possess the characteristic of Babalola in the aspect of rudeness, judgment, fire. Because this is the last days. And he found the young prophet and transferred the mantle to him. So this man is coming with multiple color. You will see the traits of Prophet TB Joshua in him, and you also see the story of Babalola in his ministry. And you also see some attributes of Archbishop Bensi Dahosa in his ministry. For God has given him a great job to do. Are you faithful? Are you fidel? Are you loyal? Are you committed in the work given to you? I've told you before, your duty is your beauty. You are guilty when you fail your duty. The very wisdom of God is crying in the streets of YouTube, and many people would not listen or take heed. But remember, I said the hour is close. He will soon emerge, and once he comes, you will see judgments. This is the voice of heaven, Son of David. I'll be coming to talk about the young prophet, on how he got the mantle of Prophet TB Joshua, that of Idahosa, and the unknown man. God bless you.